What's going on, fragrance family? It's your man Gator, better known as the Novice Nose out here in these fragrance streets. And man, I am super excited about the review we're doing today. I am tired. It's been a long day, but I got hyped when I started thinking about the fact that I'm going to be talking to you guys about this particular fragrance, man. Mostly because I'm a huge fan of the house. Now, the house in question is Mancera. Now, if you just look at my surroundings, you should be able to tell that I'm a huge fan of Mancera products. And I mean, if you were to do a 360 in the room, you'd see Mancera's like everywhere in here right now. They're like everywhere in this room right now, and a couple of Montals over there too. But in any event, I'm a huge fan of the house, mostly because you know that when you purchase a Mancera, you're going to get something that's going to be high quality and it's going to be long lasting. Now, you may not like the scent, you may not like the scent profile or anything like that, and you may not be a fan of it, but at least you know that they have some high quality stuff, man. So, as I said, I'm a huge fan of the house. So I was looking at over the new releases for the year, earlier in the year, man. And this particular fragrance caught my eye because of the use of amber. So I was a big fan of Mancera's Amber Fever. I love the way that they blended it. I love that whiskey in that particular fragrance, man, that kind of that booziness and that amberiness in that particular fragrance, man, that resonance. It's really, really nice, man. I kind of like those resonant ambers. So when I saw that they had a fragrance called Amberful, my first mind was, oh my God, that's gonna be amazing to see a Mancera resonance amber. Then I kind of, look at the note breakdown. So it became less excited and more super curious. So these are the notes on Amberful. And by the way, let me break this out here. This is Mancera's Amberful. Now, let me go ahead and put the bottle up here, make sure it can focus. And also make sure that my lighting will actually let it go there. There we go. There it focused. So Mancera's Amberful. Beautiful, beautiful bottle as always. Mancera has that simple bottle, magnetic cap, beautiful in this thing. And before I do anything else, let me go ahead and show off the atomizer. Of course, the famous Mancera atomizer is here. But so let me go into the notes in this particular thing. Oh yeah, it's attacking right now, and it's a beautiful thing. But let me go into the notes here. So the top notes are yuzu, Calabrian bergamot, pink pepper, and nutmeg. And these notes are important too because they play into the way that this fragrance develops. Now, if you're not familiar with yuzu's kind of like a lemon in a way, but it's got like a weird kind of bitterness to it. It's a little bit more bitter than a lemon is. It's an interesting citrus note. So when you see yuzu in a fragrance, it's usually paired with another citrus to accent it. But it's a beautiful note. But let me go over again. So top notes are yuzu, Calabrian bergamot, pink pepper, and nutmeg. The middle notes are amberwood. They got the amber, violet, and patchouli. And then your base notes are cedar, amber, and moss. So but just by that note breakdown, you can see there's going to be a good bit woody. It's going to be, kind of grounded, kind of earthy, kind of masculine, that kind of thing here with that yuzu note in there. So I was super excited about it. Then I start hearing people talk about the fragrance when they got it in, because I got it in maybe a couple of weeks after everybody else. And one of the things that people were saying or comparing it to was a fragrance called Ganymede. Ganymede's huge in the fragrance community, man. And I was like, is it Ganymede? Because people were talking about this being a Ganymede clone. Let me say before I get into anything else, this is definitely not Ganymede. It is definitely not a Ganymede clone. There are certain aspects of this fragrance that kind of, make it almost mirror the feel of Ganymede as that fragrance progresses, but this is definitely not Ganymede as far as the way it goes. So let me break that down a little bit. So I did go ahead and take a little spray here and get a little whiff on here. So First thing is when you spray this particular fragrance, once you get it on, and I'm here to go ahead and throw. I just jumped out the shower. Go ahead and throw it on skin right quick. So the first thing you get is this rush of spice and bitter, right? But not bitter in a bad way. It's a citrusy bitter, almost like a rindy citrus type of bitterness, right? And then you start having the pink pepper and the nutmeg start to kind of come into play. So when people are comparing this to Ganymede, what they're doing is they're starting to like look at it from the mineralic nature that Ganymede portrays. But the pink pepper and the nutmeg, that combination almost gives it almost like a carbonation type of vibe. It almost gives it like a carbonated kind of vibe, and it kind of almost portrays itself as mineralic, but because it has that same type of kind of effervescent type of feel to it that you would from the mineralic notes that are in Ganymede. Now, one of the other things that it has in common with Ganymede is they both have this kind of airiness in the mid, and it's because of the violet that is in this one. One of the things that surprised me, and like I said, I was super excited about the amber because I was thinking about amber fever and the way that presents, and those and some of the other fragrances that Mancera uses amber in that are just this resinous type of vibe. This one doesn't have that same, like when you think of traditional amber, you think of that resinous type of thing. This doesn't really have that. It has kind of it's slightly resinous, but there's kind of an airiness to it. It's almost like an airy resinous, and that airiness is caused by the violet that's in here. It's almost like it takes that deep resinous and resin of the fragrance, and it kind of lifts it up a little bit and kind of airs it out and kind of thins it out to where you're getting that resin, but it's almost like it's lighter. It's more manageable. It's more easily palatable. It's almost like it waters down the resin to make it a little bit more like airy and appealing, if I can describe it, in that way. And then you're also getting the woodiness that is in there. So you're almost presenting more like a carbonated type of cedar woodiness in this particular fragrance, with some bitterness from that yuzu note. It's a beautiful blend though. It is a beautiful combination. So it allows that resinous nature of the fragrance to kind of dance along with the effervescence of the pink pepper. And I think that's why people kind of compare it a lot to Ganymede, is that Ganymede does kind of give that type of vibe as well. But if you have to smell these two side by side, they are two different fragrances. They have some similar they have notes that give off similar type of vibes and similar, they work in a similar way, in a similar fashion for fragrance development. But if you put them side by side, they don't actually smell the same. You get, like I said, the vibe of Ganymede from this, but this is its own fragrance. Speaking of that, this is your traditional Mancera when it comes to performance and projection, man. Dare I say, this is probably the most versatile Mancera that has dropped since Aqua Wood. And I would say it's even more versatile than Aqua Wood, because as much as I love Aqua Wood is more of a summertime type of vibe, man. And it's a lot, it's subtly sweet, but it does present a little bit more towards the soapy clean type of versatility. This one actually presents in more of the aromatic woody type of versatility. This one is actually an amazing performer as well. I put it on skin a few times here. I've worn it a few days, and I will say that on skin, this lasts me probably around 7 to 8 hours at least in high humidity. Now, when I put it on clothes, I've got a shirt that's sitting over there that's ready for laundry right now, and it's been on that shirt since a couple of days ago. Last time I wore it, it's definitely on there. So it has that lasting power. But then again, it's Mancera. You expect it to have lasting power. Projection wise, this is not a soft projector. It actually does push out. It leaves a beautiful scent trail behind you as well. And that citric and woodiness, that blend, that combination, that lasts throughout the fragrance. I would say you don't really lose the yuzu and bergamot until probably around hour 3, 4, or 5. So that citrus does actually kind of fleet in and out, in that 3 to 4 hour period. So you still have it during that time. But once it dries down and it gets into that amberiness and that woodiness, you get some moss in here as well. And you already know what that does. It gives it that nice, earthy, masculine touch, man. It leaves a scent trail that is intoxicating, man. I love this stuff. This is, again, like I said, probably the most versatile fragrance that Mancera has dropped in the last 5 years at least. And y'all, like I said, I love aqua wood, but this is probably even more versatile than that one. I would give this a good 9.95 as far as like fragrance releases. Mancera outdid themselves with this particular fragrance, man. This is something that is a talking point. It's a talking piece, because I've had people comment on it multiple times and just ask, what are you wearing? That is just, it's something about that that's just different. I actually had somebody just say it's different. And it is. It is very much different in the vein that Ganymede is different. And I hate to keep making that comparison, even though I just said this is not Ganymede, but you know what? They could be distant cousins from each other. And because it does have that type of vibe, it does give that type of performance. It does give, that type of swag to it. They do play in those same wheelhouses, man. It's a beautiful fragrance, man. If I was to, I'd say compliment factor is through the roof on this particular fragrance. I love it, man. The only thing that I would say that I do not, and that I am not a huge fan of, is that the yuzu at the beginning, even though it's, yuzu's a bitter type of fragrance, sometimes that it could be a little bit overpowering. So be mindful of the sprays, because when you initially spray this, you get a buttload of pink pepper in here, man. You get a buttload of that pink pepper, you get a buttload of that yuzu, and bitter and pepper, they will mess your nose up. So when you spray this initially, make sure that you're kind of spraying it away from your face and everything, man, because it will overwhelm your nose and it will abuse your nose. So be very careful. If you spray this too many times, and I made the mistake, so I know, if you spray this too many times, you will not only go nose blind to it, but it will have your nose like dysfunctional for the rest of the day. So be mindful of that. But other than that, man, and some people like that because that just shows that power, So anyway, but that's all I got on this one, man. It is a beautiful fragrance, guys. I recommend you put your nose on it whenever you can. This is gonna be a staple going. Oh, this is the other thing about the difference between this and aqua wood. This is not just a summer fragrance. This is, I would say, a year-round fragrance. And it's hard to find a year-round citrus fragrance. This one could go year-round. I could see people actually wearing this in the winter. It has the potential, with that pink pepper acting the way that it does have the potential to probably cut through a little bit of cold too. So I look at this as a super versatile fragrance, probably the most versatile fragrance that Mancera has put out in years, man. That's all I got for you guys today. Have you had any experience with this? Let me know, man, in the comments what you think about it, man. This is a great investment. This is probably one of my favorite pickups of the year. I got a bunch of them that are favorite pickups of the year, and I think in the next couple of months I'm gonna actually do my #1 fragrance of the year. I'm gonna do my top 5 of the year, closing out the year here, because I think I've got my 5 sitting ready, man. But yeah, if you've experienced it, man, let me know what you think of it. And also make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, man. Keep on subscribing, man. Keep on liking these videos, and make sure you're sharing these videos with someone you know that loves fragrance. Until next time, people, I'm out of here. Peace out.